Okay, so isotope RX4. RX time, says S. Mackie. Samuel, how do you know? How do you know how I operate, man? How do you even know? You just know. What is the deal? Yeah, give me like 2 seconds here, Matt. We'll get started. I just need to transfer a file to my PC side. We'll call it what is even the deal.wave. It's a strong file name, right? Boom, there it goes. Hey Zoe, how you doing? Strats. Strats. Okay, okay, what is even the deal.wave? Here it is. So, it needs more ambience. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and hit pause here for a second. We had this problem on a Mushroom 11 track we did. I think somebody was streaming it, and people in the chat were being like, what's that high-pitched whine happening occasionally? And because it was from the Future Sound of London, it was all like analog synth stuff, there were some high-pitched things that we didn't hear, but small children with ears that are less battered and bruised can hear them just fine. And it's led to a general kind of best practice of whenever we, well, for sounds in general, but I often just record the output of a game while I'm playing to see if anything pops up horribly. But music especially, because it repeats over and over, and you'll hear it again and again probably in a game, right? So we look for things like this right here. You see it? So I heard this right away when I was listening to this soundtrack, and this is the kind of thing that might be worth addressing, Craig. I don't know if you want to address it now. Like, still, you could patch it, I guess. I don't know if you can update soundtracks on Bandcamp, but this is the kind of thing that, when bad enough, may actually discourage people from wanting to listen to your music. Because if it's bad enough, it's just like high pitched, whatever. Here it is. Not too bad to start, but bright here. It's pretty bright. And there it is. Make sure it's all full volume too. It is good. It's like in this section it can get pretty. So it's there, right? You hear it? Like, that's pretty bold as far as if it's there with a creative intention, then it's a bold move. Your mix is too bright. Is that what's causing it? No. I mean, well, a bright mix could be just abrasive on the highs just as a result, but this is more a side effect of bit crushing usually. That's why it's kind of symmetrical. If you zoom in, it'll be kind of mirrored over a line like this. And with really hard bit crushing, with really hard bit crushing, you'll see, like, I think you have like a thing in this track somewhere, don't you? Where is that? All right, there, you see it? So you have the same kind of thing happening. You can see in the background, like these lines moving. This, like that line there. I'll go lasso tool instead. So like this line and this line are moving apart, right? This is like symmetrical. That's what bit crushing looks like. So I'm guessing that you've got some synth that is being bit crushed, and as a result is having this kind of side effect of this really high pitched shit, right? Like, that's kind of bold. Here it's similar. And the thing is, the higher up you get, like, that's pretty bright in the spectrogram. If you look at this thing compared to like the bright stuff down here, it's like pretty similar in volume. So like this, I think my hearing drops off at like 15 and a half, 16K, something like that, which isn't the best. Like, my ears are far from perfect. So that's kind of why I look at, I try to make a habit of looking at all the tracks we put out to make sure there isn't just something technical happening that's resulting in some high-pitched nonsense that I'm not really aware of. It can be a problem, and it's like not even anyone's fault. It's just like it's up there, And as a result, some kids who have better ears than you might be like, "Oh God, what is that?" And they're getting just like punched in the ear over and over again, right? Or stabbed is a better word, perhaps. The thing is, with RX4, it's like, or with RX in general, I think it's on RX5 now, isn't it? Like spectral repair, vertical, it's done. Like it's fixed in seconds. You just do this and say boom, and like it's gone. Right? That's it. And everything else is still there, I guarantee you. Because all it's doing is looking up and down and saying, well, what shouldn't be here? I guess all this stuff that's kind of inconsistent. And it's like, there you go, and now we're good. And that might be like a pretty harsh quick fix, but just listen really fast and be like, is it fine? It probably is. If I zoom in like that and zoom in, just pull up here. Yeah, like that's the entire, I'm fully left, right? So like just grab from here and say, boom, and like, look, it's good, right? It's still kind of there. Then you're the same thing now, which is basically what you wanted, right? I don't think you wanted that high-pitched whine. Like maybe you wanted a little bit of it, just as kind of like a little taste. And if you did, just turn the freaking strength down to like 0.5 or something, you know? But anyways, just a very, very small critique to what is otherwise a great soundtrack. So figured I'd bring it up. Couldn't hurt. So hey everyone, that was a little RX4 tutorial to start off Real Talk this week. All right. So we're looking at a couple people today. We're looking at Lewis Whitworth and Craig Barnes, of course, so the Streets of Rogue soundtrack, right? So I think we'll probably start with Craig because he's already here. We're already talking about RX4 stuff. So, and as always, we have Matt Esk in the chat as indicated down below here. I changed my background so it says so now. I didn't say that for a long time, but now we're good. I had a light on here. It's just kind of dark. 1 second. All right. So, if you haven't been to Real Talk before, I feel like most of you probably have been, but there are a few people who were considering coming in for the first time. So, in case you're in the crowd, thanks a lot for hanging out. And we are looking for these things from various sound designer, composer types in the industry who are looking for feedback on their reels. So we look for presentation, material selection, content quality, and distinction. We being myself at Power Up and Matt Martinson, who's Matt Esk in the chat right now, who is audio guru at Clay Entertainment here in Vancouver as well. So as far as presentation goes, we're looking at the site in general, so we'll go over the whole website and just say, just formatting, layout, if everything's clear, if I feel like I'm struggling ever on the page, or if it doesn't look great, or if it kind of feels like there could be some improvements here and there, we'll try and let you know our thoughts in the matter. Material selection is more regarding the reel itself. Presentation is too, mind you, but the material selection is much more on the reel itself and saying, well, what is on your reel and what's that say about your professional aspirations and your current skill sets and such. The content quality is whether or not it is good, and if it is not good, we'll try and tell you how you can make it better. And for distinction, it is just anything about your website or your reel or your work or anything that stands out in some way. Because there's a whole lot of people out there who want the same job you do, so it's pretty important that you're standing out, yeah? And you can stand out in any way you want. It can be a cool website background, or it can be just exceptional audio design, or exceptional music, or interesting kind of innovative design, or something different that we haven't seen before, or pure data. Who's a Greg Davenport made like a Space Invaders game in the pure data UI, and it's kind of weird, but it's like that's really cool that he of his own volition decided to do that, and then said, here the world, have a look at this thing, right? That's pretty cool. And the fact that I pulled it out right now is just kind of a testament to the fact that it stood out, right? Given we've done months and months and months of Real Talk, so things tend to stand out more than others naturally. Okay, so I think we might as well just get started here. The first thing here, we're on Craig S. Barnes, cbsound.com, if you want to follow along. And Matt's got it open as well, of course. I'll get this. I'll get your name back up here, Matt. Boom. There you go. All right. So the very first thing we're looking for is presentation. Yeah. So we'll just glance through the site real fast. Up top, we got Craig Barnes. Craig S. Barnes. Video game audio. Sorry, home. Kind of same thing as this, right? I assume. Yeah, just the same link. Or is it? It is. I'm always weirded out by like the name linking to where you already are. It always kind of I don't know. It's like on every site. I think even our site does that. to be fair, but I don't know. Strikes me as kind of redundant. A video game audio, songwriting, about, contact Bandcamp. Okay. I'm Craig, a New York City-based composer, sound designer, and producer. I score video games and write songs with singers and bands. Contact me to discuss your project. I offer positive, playful professionalism. That alliteration, though. Let's make something awesome together. All right, cool. It is text first, which we generally discourage because, as we've said again and again, people generally won't care until they have a reason to. Because if you're hiring, I mean, depends who you're applying to, mind you, but if it's some studio, well, anyone really, think about it, if somebody's like, I'm looking for a composer on Twitter, how many responses do they get, right? Like hundreds. So if you have text first, they'll probably not care until they're like, well, are you good? Because until they know you're good, I'm not going to care about your background or how to contact you and stuff, right? So even like just taking this about and putting it like beneath the first thing you want them to see might be an idea. So Matt's says composer, sound designer, and producer, and then I score video games and write songs. And no mention you do sound design. True. So I guess score is kind of like the video game score. Some people might include sound design in that vernacular, like in that umbrella, the score of the video game. But I don't know. It's kind of, yeah. It's a little bit musicy, and I think that you and I speaking just together at Game SoundCon and stuff. By the way, I met Craig at Game SoundCon, and then again at TwitchCon. It was a good time. But yeah, might be like this line could just go maybe, or saying, you know, working on video games, working with bands. I don't know. Just say like what medium you like. Edit it that way. So make it one sentence or something. But anyways, or like focused in music recording and video games or something. I don't know. Something like that. It's a small detail. Contact me. Again, they won't want to until they have a reason to. So that's kind of why putting it first is maybe a waste of their time and yours. It's I say a waste of time. That might sound a bit harsh, but it really, that's what it comes down to. I often cite our analytics for our own website, and like Power Up Audio's page is like, here, let's do this. I'll pull it across here. There we go. Oh, please. There we go. So if it's like on our own page here, yeah, here you go. So like Power Up site, yeah, it does. Look at that. I'll go to projects. So I shouldn't talk, okay, Craig? So our site, there's a lot to look at, and the first thing you see is this project overview. It's like, here you go, check out our stuff, right? That's kind of our main page, and from analytics, we have learned that people spend about 90 seconds on our webpage. So that said, we know like they kind of click through, they glance here, they might look at these orange words, tops, they won't read all this stuff, they probably won't, and that's totally fine. They might glance at team, be like, oh cool, what a bunch of fun-loving guys, and they go to media, and maybe you watch one of these things or half of one, be like, oh yeah, cool, the IGF video, I was there, or whatever, right? And then like, boom, they're gone, like that was it. So the fact that we have things generally structured in terms of like what we want them to see the most. So for your page, if you want them to know that you are based in New York and that's the most important thing you know, like I kind of doubt it. It's not. It probably isn't the most important thing to tell them. What is probably important to tell them is that you're freaking awesome at your job, and then that would be your reel. Would be the first thing you want them to see, right? So there you go. So yeah, Power Up Audio, no reel in the first page. We got to put our money where our mouth is, man. Seriously, we got to do that pretty soon. We'll get a reel up soon. Don't worry. It'll be a big day on Real Talk when there's a reel on Power Up Audio's homepage. Hey, Justin. Good to see you, man. So let's carry on here. The reel, maybe put this first instead. Might be an idea. It's a bit tricky because your first thing says I do this variety of things, right? Like I do video games and work with bands. So maybe it's worth having like 2 different pages. I don't know, like one for your video game stuff. So if you want to focus your efforts on video game people to work with, like collaborators or hires or studios or whatever, then you can give them the card for that, and they'd end up on your site for games, right? Because otherwise, yeah, I appreciate the challenge of trying to put everything here and being like, no matter who you are under this umbrella of what you do, looking to hire you for your services or work with you, you want them to see like the most relevant thing first, and it's hard to know what that might be, right? So, all right. I'm just going to click through really fast here. Oh, it's one of these pages. Okay, so it scrolls down. Got it. So video game audio. This is the reel, the first thing. Cool. I'll assume that is all you want me to see. And then past that, hey, Valor Wins. Good to see you. Good to see you back. Hat Slinger. Okay, cool. In development. Fine. For Hats and Profit. That's like, I've seen a game like that. Westerado? Is that it? Westerado? Wasn't there like a Hats metagame in that game? Streets of Rogue, of course. Yeah, tiny build. Enyo, cool. Neon Krieger Yamato. All right. So Craig's question, I do like the idea of having separate pages, and actually my site used to have a bunch of other things, film stuff, commercial work, etc. Yeah, so it's harder to balance when you do different things, and while related, music production and composing sound design are kind of 2 different things, totally. Like working with a band versus working with a developer are extremely different processes, right? So he's impressed your site was so varied. Well, see, that can be a thing. People can be like, oh, they have a lot of different skill sets, and therefore maybe they're good to hire. It is my opinion that you can kind of take that same philosophy and apply it to a narrower vision. So if you have something like, I have many skills in games, for example, I can do implementation, and I can do QA, and I can do composition, I can do sound design, I can do post-production, I record voiceover, I direct voiceover. There's a lot of facets of game development with audio as the focus. There's a lot of facets to that kind of part of the Venn diagram of audio, right? So I don't think you need to like abandon the idea of looking like you have varied talents just because you're focusing on a game space. And the thing is, personally, if I'm looking for a sound designer to hire for Power Up Audio, for example, and I find a page with a guy that's like hyper focused in games versus a page that has, well, how about like Hammer Records last week, right? Like that's a great example. Hammer Records is basically that, like the services, look at this, photography, cinematography, audio production, video game composition, like it just goes on. Like this, like makeup and effects, it's a lot of stuff. And as a result, this kind of gets lost in the mix a bit. And to, like, as a guy who wants to hire for video game work, we were saying to James last week that like this site is a bit risky in that respect. Like it's not, it's risking that it gets lost in the mix, and you don't see like, oh, they're very focused and passionate about video games, even though he is. The site doesn't really convey that. So with yours, it's you could probably focus more on games and be totally fine with that. And the people who want to hire you to work in games are probably passionate about games. And it's not like it's going to make somebody not hire you. It's like, oh, they're too interested in games, I'm not going to go with this guy, right? It's just not going to happen. My buddy Alexis might have a real review coming on today. Coming on today? Alexis. Maybe I responded to that tweet late at night or something, but I don't think so. I might be wrong, but I'd be curious to know who this Alexis person is. Maybe I've dropped the ball at some point. Hey, Kit Kate Kelly, what's up? You could always have links to your other websites, music, film, etc. on your game page. Totally, absolutely. If you're worried about your focus being, or your other skills being lost entirely. Okay, so songwriting, again, that's kind of getting outside game stuff a bit, but that's all right. We'll skip down through this stuff. More things, cool. And yeah, totally, Craig. I mean, I don't mean to be like, this is not worthwhile. It's really cool seeing how that you have a variety of interests and you're versatile and you're obviously, you're doing work. There's a lot of different things here, It's cool. Okay, contact. Here's your about. Canadian-born. Did I know that? New York City-based musician and producer. Collaborate with game devs, directors, and performers. High quality, idiosyncratic art. That intrigues, inspires, and delights. There's no I. Another I verb here. Excuse me. From cheerful jungle carnivals, dank dungeon crawls. I help my collaborators make singular worlds come alive by providing the irresistible oral hooks for their rich and colorful visions. Yo, as a Canadian, where's your you at, man? Colorful. I love to do game jams, such as Limdare, and to play test video games. You can find me attending video game industry events, such as GDC and PAX. Like, these things are great. That's awesome to hear about you and, like, in testing games. That's really, that shows you like the craft, right? You enjoy the process. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, this kind of thing is really good. Assuming they care about you. Like, if you've gotten past the hurdle of them caring about you, then yeah, Valor Winston is what I'm talking about with the you. If you got past the hurdle of them caring who you are, then this kind of thing is really cool to have on your bio, So, songwriter, we'll skip to this stuff. Not as concerned about that right now. That's fine. Some photos of you in action. Rad. Cool. Well, without further ado, let's go. Oh, sorry. Last thing is contact. And we got Gmail. It's a mail to link. Matt hates those, but that's fine. Yeah, this is your email and a form? That's interesting. Okay, well, whatever. Might be a little bit redundant there. I mean, if you have their email, then they're going to use the email, Because I'd much rather use a personal email than I'd use a freaking web form that might have errors or something. So maybe just ditch this, if this is here, just in the interest of trimming the fat. All right, so we got SoundCloud link, another mail to link. Again, this is again kind of redundant, right? So you have to scroll all the way down to get here. If this is like always visible, then maybe that's worthwhile. Because I can be looking at this thing and be like, oh, cool, like Twitter, done. But the fact that I need to scroll all the way down, and now I'm in your contact section with this stuff, and then like a bit more down, like more contact stuff, it's kind of weird to have this also. Again, just in the interest of trimming things down. These are very, very like details-oriented kind of pieces of feedback. And like I'm no graphic designer, web designer, but just in terms of my personal inclination, I like to have less things if possible, So, and Bandcamp. So, yeah, so why not have your Bandcamp here too, man? Or just instead, I guess you've got like you have Bandcamp here, but not SoundCloud, And then SoundCloud here, but not Bandcamp. It just feels like this kind of places, like these are redundant. I don't know. Craig, if someone wants to contact you and they click contact, they're not going to like miss this and then go here. Because the thing is, why not have, when you click contact, that's where I'm going. Whereas this one, I got to like scroll down and see. It's right beside the contact stuff, mind you, it's fine. Or maybe just like make it easier, go contact info, boom, put your stuff in little like pogs like they are here, only here instead, or just list them out here. It's your call really, but I think that having one of each is probably fine. It's not like people want to contact you. Will be like, oh no, I pressed contact and now where's the information? Like they're not going to think that. It's right in front of them under the contact info heading, right? So it'll be fine. So let's watch the reel, shall we? This is a weird shaped YouTube embed. What's going on here? Play. This is super, super wide. Let's go full screen. 1 minute, 1 second. What do you think of that, Matt? We always aim for 1 minute on Real Talk, just so you know. So let's go full screen. I'm going to kill my my sidechain for a second. There we go. And so Matt's beef with mail to links is that they always open an email client he doesn't use, and it annoys him. It puts him in a bad frame of mind. You're so angry, Matt. You're always so angry. Okay, let's press play. Let's do it. Oh, I'm not full volume. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Easy, please, audio. I'm cutting out. Should be fine. Mixer. Let's not make that mistake again. Boom, 100%. Okay, full screen, and go. Whoa! That was sick, man. All right. Groovy as all hell, says Noxiel. And by the way, who was that saying stuff earlier? I meant to get back to you, sorry. Someone said... Vetamag, a game dev backwards. Kevin, great advice about all this. Thanks so much. Makes me feel motivated to actually update my site. It has maybe 2 sentences of text on it, and my picture, lol, so pathetic. Yo, it's hard to find time to update these kind of things sometimes, you know? Like, our site gets updated occasionally at best. It's gotta happen. Just find time, I guess. Just make it happen. Look at these claps in the chat, Craig. There's so many claps. Yeah, nice work. I have some feedback, but overall, it's tight. Super tight. Let's go through bit by bit, shall we? I'm gonna go full screen again. This, my very first thought was, holy, it punches you in the face. The big thing is that, so right away, I know Matt's gonna say this. Matt is gonna say this is like a sizzle reel, which is fine. I guess it's just most important to craft your reel for the kinds of people that will be looking at it, right? So, for example, us, like Power Up Audio, we've been fortunate to have worked on some titles that people are familiar with. So we can make a reel that's like, kind of like this. That's like, boom, 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 boom. These are all my sweet games we worked on, right? And the idea of that is to be like, hey, there's like some cool music, much like yours. Here is like cool music the whole way through with some clips of gameplay, some cool sounds, hopefully, and just quick titles being like this game, this game, this game, just very fast-paced through, hold their attention, and then be done. This one is kind of like that, but it's kind of also trying to be something else at the same time. So there are sections where it's like, here is like music only, here is a part where it's SFX only, here's a part where it's like both together because you did both, right? It makes sense. And also there's like a big cool intro that's like also kind of its own thing that's all really designed and interesting. So it's a lot of different things happening, but so I'll get back to the first thing I said. The first thing I said being you should craft your reel according to who you think is going to be looking at it. So for ourselves, like Power Up is pretty established, and we assume that when people are looking at our site, they're going to recognize some things. They may have been referred by somebody else. They may have like heard of us from SGDQ or something. There's a variety of ways they could have gotten to our site, but they probably didn't like land there randomly. It's not very common at all. We usually get referrals these days. So we can safely assume that a reel crafted for them is one that's like, look at all this cool stuff, and that's really effective. Whereas if it's somebody who is, we'll go to the other end of the freaking spectrum. Okay, it's not quite, this is like past you, past the spectrum, Craig. But we'll go to like someone who's like a starving student, just starting out. They only have like game jam stuff and like redesigns, and that's all they have. Those kind of things need to be hyper focused on the quality of the work. So it's got to be like, here's my music, what do you think? And presented, you know, really, really nicely, and hold your attention, and be music only so you can listen to the music, because they're going to be judged on their quality of work, like primarily, not on, oh, well, like Power Up Audio won some awards, so I'll go with them. Like that's kind of enough to be hired for us now, but for a long time we had to like push our sound and push our music, right? So if you're looking to be working with like the middle of the spectrum somewhere is like, you know, you have worked on some things, you have some titles like Streets of Rogue and such. So now you kind of need to make a choice of like, are you hyping or are you showing your work? Because if you're hyping, it can be tough to hype and also like change gears over and over again through like, this is music, this is music, this is music, this is music. So it's possible, but it's difficult. And then apart from that, for sound effects, if I'm looking to hire a sound designer, this reel isn't great for that because it's a lot of music focus or music distraction. In that it's focused when there's only music, and it's distracting when there's music and sound effects. Because for someone who's like looking to listen to sound effects primarily, they're going to be having to kind of listen through the music. Go. Oh, my sidechain's still off. I'm still French. Ready, go. What's up? Welcome on in. Okay, so that said, this is all like very subjective, right? So it's kind of you're very much in that kind of sweet spot in the middle, Craig, as far as not only in terms of your career progression, but also in terms of where your focuses lie. because your sound is not bad and your music is not bad. So like I mean they're good to varying degrees, mind you, but they're like you kind of have the choice. So I'm leaving that with you, but I just wanted to kind of go through and like lay out what those choices mean. So Matt's saying, here's the hard truth of what this choices mean. Here's the hard truth. Would not hire sound effects, as I can't tell how the sound effects work is in the reel. The one sound I could really pick out I didn't like. And it was the really loud, like high-pitched like crunching in the middle of the reel. Because I heard that one too, and that's the one I remember right now, off the top of my head. So that said, Craig, I think at Game SoundCon, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think you were saying that you wanted to get more into sound design in addition to music, right? Like music has been your focus for a long time, you want to get into sound more? So if that's the case, you should probably make a reel that's like sound only. And if you don't have enough work that is sound only yet, then do redesigns, because the whole purpose of redesigning work, like existing media, existing games, is to indicate where you want to be, like the kind of projects you want to be working on. So if you're a starving student and you make a bunch of redesigns of some indie games, well, it's pretty clear you want to work on indie games because that's where your interests lie, right? Whereas if you're redesigning like Alien Isolation and Halo and Skyrim and stuff, like if you design these games, then it's very obvious you want to get a studio gig, right? So if you do want to get into sound effects more, then I would recommend, and it seems like Matt would as well, I would recommend actually putting effort into having like a sound design reel and a music reel, maybe separately. And if you still want to keep that sizzle one to like hype people up, then so be it. But right now, so I'll read Matt, he's gonna say the same thing I'm saying. Right now, if I'm looking for a sound designer, I want to hear a reel that's just sound effects so I can really see that work. I know how much I hide when I've got music, so now with a music heavy reel, I don't know if that's what you're doing or if you've forgotten or what. Because it's totally true. I mean, like I just did some work on the Necrodancer DLC on some video content, and Danny Baranowski had some sick music going on, and I totally did like a bunch of sound because I was waiting on him to give me a final of the music. And in the end, I just like killed off like half my sound because he just had music to cover it, right? So it's not even contributing at that point. Just get rid of it and it's fine. Because in that sense, it's totally fine. But keep in mind, if you're working with the team for sound, someone's going to be like watching over you to make sure you're doing your job, right? So and they're going to want to know what watching over you might resemble, and they will get that idea by looking at your sound effects in like completely naked form, like only sound all alone, right? Hopefully that makes some sense. So that said, man, let's talk about your reel for a second. So let's talk presentation first, yeah? Let's do it. And go! Jeez, that's a bold start, man. It's so loud. Like, right off the front. It's... This, I would almost say don't do that. Like, it's really... Like, I did this, right? I jumped back. Maybe it's okay, but there's, like, no warning at all that's coming up. All it would take is, like just something, another half second of, like, a or something. Just something going from quiet to loud. Because if someone's music's turned up, if they were like, for example, just listening to something like something quiet, and then they play your reel next, like out the speakers, it's nuts. So it's kind of as a courtesy to your listeners, I would recommend some kind of build-in to be like, this is the quiet part, and here's the loud part. Ugh. Yeah. So let's press play again. So when this began, I was like, oh, sick, it's like a sizzle reel. It's going to be just this track, the whole thing, with like a bunch of stuff you've worked on, and being like, pretty sick, right? Okay, call me, and that's it. But then we changed gears, and now we're in a reel, and I was like, okay, cool, now we'll hear the focus. And then we had these titles, which are lovely, by the way, really, really tasteful, super good font, everything's great, very clear. And this is sound effects and music, which we've talked about. Oh, and furthermore, this says music. So you didn't do sound effects here. Or that's my understanding. in general, I would recommend, if it's a sizzle reel, then you can put down like what you did on things, and maybe it's worth just having like, I worked on these things, they're credits I have. And you don't need to be super precise about what those credits are. Because I mean, like in our reel, for example, we've got, well, the one I'm working on, mind you, we don't say like what we did for each game. We just say like, we're on these games, and that's it. And that's okay for a sizzle reel as long as it's clear somewhere else. But for this one, the fact is you've got sound in the reel that isn't yours. And for the purpose, like the whole purpose of a reel is to showcase your work. And like this, sound's the easy one to get rid of. You just kill off all the audio and put in your music again. Just put music on the track and you're done. So there's really no reason to have the sound in here as well. Because all that happens is you allow room for confusion. And even though it says music, I'm reading it, and it took me like four watches to realize this was not your sound, right? So there's really no downside to being painfully obvious about everything in your reel. So if you did sound, put sound in. If you didn't do sound, don't put it in. And same thing for music, right? And that one said music and sound effects. We had like how long for this game? Here we go. It's now 15 seconds, 16, 3, 4, 5, 5 seconds of that game. And music is okay. It's a bit short to show up music in 5 seconds, mind you, but I understand you're trying to cram a bunch of stuff in. We heard like one gun sound in this. And some other stuff that I can't make out because the music is loud, right? So that's a great example of like sound effects hiding behind the music. This is way louder than the previous one, man. So that's what I heard the first time around, and I suspect what Matt was talking about as well, but the thing he didn't like. It's my guess. I might be wrong, but this thing I was like, the first time you were watching my face, Craig, you may have seen me do this. I like winced a bit, because man, these are bright highs. Holy, they're up there. It's like really, really hard highs. So I'd be really careful about that. Although we're still on presentation, mind you. So we'll get back to that. Jesus Christ, that's pretty crazy. So compressed. So okay, my general feedback on presentation is that your intro is quite long and like hype, right? So you have like 9 seconds of that, 8 seconds of that. So that's quite a long intro that doesn't show anything of yours. It shows music playing that I assume you wrote, which is nice. Oh, nice. Sports. But you're cutting your time down here, and the ending is very unceremonious. So it's like, you hear the downbeat of the next bar even. So I feel like there's a bit of an imbalance. Again, talking about presentation, there's an imbalance of like, the opening has this long intro, it's like really hype, and the ending has nothing. It just has your name there. And the thing is, the beginning doesn't have your contact info either, I don't think. So it has your website, but this is okay. It might be worth having your email here as well, man. Like, just make it as easy as possible to hit you up. It's at the end, right? So there's really no downside to putting this same thing at the beginning. You just have like, beginning, here's me, here's how to get in touch, here's my stuff, and again, here's me, here's how to get in touch. That can't be a poor choice ever. So that said, we have this middle section which has a lot of content, and the thing is, there's so much that it's almost better suited for a sizzle reel, because like our sizzle reel, I want to finish it so I can show you guys, but it's a minute long, and there's like 14 games in it, right? So do the math, and it's like a silly short amount of time for some of them. It's like time spinner, next game, like that's it. It's just like very, very quick. So that's okay because you're just naming titles. But if you're showing off work, 5 seconds of music like doesn't tell me much. It tells me you worked on a thing that shipped, and that's good. But I don't know. It might be worth killing off some of the stuff you're not as pumped about, just to have more demonstration of your work. And the thing is, if you do a music reel and SFX reel separate, you'll clear up tons of space, because suddenly you have SFX only on some projects, and you can kill off all the things that are music only, and suddenly you have all this time to play with, and you can show off your work in a more thorough way, right? And the thing is, reels aren't meant to be thorough, but if they're too abridged, then you kind of risk like not actually giving people a full taste of what you can do. Man, that clip. Additional music. Cool. Yeah, like this reel is kind of more of a list of credits than it is a demonstration of your talents. It like kind of gets to the point, but I definitely felt like I was being rushed along the first time I watched it. Man, do I think starting with name websites kind of boring? Well, again, it depends on what you're looking to accomplish. If you're looking to have a reel that demonstrates your musical ability or your sound design ability, then no, totally not. If it's like Craig Barnes, boom, site, moving on. If it's 2 seconds, they're not going to have much time to become bored, you know? If it's like 10 seconds, then yeah, but if it's like a second or two, they can press pause to write your email address down or whatever, right? It's fine. So let's go on to our next criteria here. Let's go on to material selection. So we've got, I'm gonna turn this down because it's pretty loud. The whole thing's so loud. So material selection, we'll jump to the actual reel, which starts at like 8 seconds. This is iOS, it's shipped, awesome. Streets of Rogue, it's like an indie title, not mobile, cool, showing more versatility. PC, it is PC, right? Yeah, PC, also PC, cool, showing a variety of platforms, more PC, back to mobile again, and like a massively different game, Zen blocks, way different than like boom, 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 boom of these games, right? Party Hard's pretty out there as well, and this is kind of like tangentially related to the game, which is nice. It's not going to be, it's not like, it's still very related, without being like a redesign or something, right? Or a game jam. This is still for a shipped title, and it's official. So that's sick. I know this game too. I feel like the guy that made this got in touch with me at some point. All right. I'd fix that ending, but whatever. Yeah, so material's good, man. It just shows that you're working in the indie space and you work on mobile and PC stuff, and that's cool. If you want to work on other things, then you should put other things to work on, but it seems like you're pretty happy where you are. A bunch of people don't read text below and don't realize you didn't do the original Party Hard OST. Is that misleading? Well, you said what it was. Because even I was like, I didn't know you did Party Hard. Oh, wait, okay, I see. It's fine. Like, I have no problem with that at all. The like showing gameplay is like a bit misleading maybe, but it says right here, it does say, like I was saying, there's a balance to find there between the whole like, oh well, you shouldn't put sound in your reel if you didn't do it, but that's totally fine. The thing is, we totally recommend having visuals for anything people design ever, and as long as it says right here what you did, then you can't go wrong, right? It's only when you have like additional content that you didn't do, that's kind of getting past a line you probably shouldn't cross, and that's for this whole game, right? Having the sound design. So there you go. I think it's fine, totally fine. And Matt, feel free to disagree, but I think you'll probably be cool with that too. So content quality. Okay, now we'll talk about this loud ass pickup sound, man. So quality, the whole thing's super loud. That's one thing. You might want to pull it back, like even like 3 dB, just out of politeness. It's one thing to be hype, but it's another to be like the entire time, you know? So we'll go like half volume, or a little more than that, that's all right. So click through here. Hey, Ali, what's going on? So music there, I don't really get anything out of it. It's like dung 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 dung, right? It might as well be, I mean, to be absolutely honest, it might as well be like a GarageBand loop of drums at that point, because I don't hear anything of it. It comes and goes so fast, right? So if you had more of this, this is more like, that's why I say it's more like a list of credits, because you're not really showing off your musical ability with this clip. That might sound harsh, but like it really is. It's just drums, right? There's like bum bum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum. So it's fine, but it's not special at all. So we'll carry on here. That's way more interesting as far as showing different style, like kind of into the 8-bit thing, or not 8-bit, but it's less lower fi, you know. Okay, this is a nightmare right here, man. The thing is, much quieter. Sounds nice. It sounds really good because those highs are now way quieter. But now everything else is quiet too, right? So, man, I mean, do we do it? Do we pull up RX? I feel like we should. Man, this last thing I'll do, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'll crank this, press and play. Man, okay. Holy, that is so loud. I'm gonna cut this right now. We're consolidating, exporting, going right to the desktop. Good place for a file, right? Not unorganized at all. We're calling this Yo Those Highs Though. And we're gonna pull it over to our PC side. I'm gonna open up RX again. And oh, where am I here? Here we go. RX4. Boom, here it is. And now we're gonna go over to Yo Those Highs Though. And holy, this distribution of frequency content is nuts. And these bright bits, they're nuts also. It's so loud. So here's the thing, we're gonna press play here. So do you see all these frequencies here? They're very evenly distributed here. Like this. It's like, the thing is, the more distribution you get close, the nearer you get to even distribution, the more you approach white noise. And when you have this much up top, this isn't too bad, but it's just a lot of it, right? It's very compressed. There's not a lot of dark space, like over here, for example. And that's because everything's compressed so hard. So all the loud bits are like brought down, and then everything's back up. So there's like no distribution between, or no dynamic range between like the loud stuff and the quiet stuff. It's just super loud, all of it. Man, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then here's like the highs here that are insane. They're so loud. Like literally, if I take an EQ and I just do something that resembles like a shelf. I don't know if you can do a shelf in RX, but I'll just do something resembling a shelf, like this, and we'll go like -10 or something, just like that. Boom, all of it. And now, it's probably too much, but we'll go like maybe 6 instead. There we go, okay. Like even, like that's so much more polite, just like that. Yeah, the thing is, so without getting too deep into this, Craig, the point is that our ears, they process high frequencies very efficiently, and the thing is when you have even distribution like that, the fact that our ears process highs more efficiently means that even though they're even, like in volume, our ears are perceiving the highs as louder. So if you like do this with your mix, or sorry, for your perspective, so the highs are like that, if you do that, your ears perceive it like this, so it becomes more even, it becomes more kind of pleasant to the ear, right? But it's like a very, very simplified way of putting it, but that's the gist. So anyways, I would be very careful of that. It's just, in general, it's so loud compared to the rest of the reel, so it pops out really hard, and just having less bright everything in that entire clip. It stuck out so hard. We mentioned the first time I played through, I heard that bit was what I remembered the most after the first playthrough of this reel. And given that how much I don't like it, that's not a good thing, right? When something sticks out that hard, you tend to remember it. And you tend to remember things that stick out hard, whether they're good or bad, and this is not a good stick out. And the thing is, the work is not bad. It's not like bad sound design or bad music. It's just so fucking bright. So, yeah, fix it up, man. That's like fine, I guess. This is very different. It's cool. And this is all music. Whatever. And the ending is loud and drops off quickly, but that's presentation thing. That's kind of it. As far as distinction, Matt... Oh, sorry, Matt first says, I'd say that high-end is something that can turn people off without them knowing why. 100%, yeah. The thing is, excuse me, most game developers don't know about how our ears process sound or perceive sound, right? From a scientific standpoint. So they'll be like, oh, and that'll be it. That'll be their reaction. They'll go, oh, and they'll close the window. So it's, oh, yo, that Zen Blocks SFX sounds cut off. I heard the pop too myself, but it seemed like maybe it was like a 8-bit synthy thing. That... I assume that's what you're talking about, Matt, right? The bump, 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 bump. But I can let that one go. But I agree, like that's on the edge of being a technical error or being perceived as one. So, anyways, oh, and it's music also. Again, see, music. There's no. We're talking about sound effects, man. Yeah, get that out of there. Get it out. Hey, Dash, good to see you. Yeah, everyone's like talking about sound stuff, and you didn't even do the sound, man. So here you go. We're judging you based on sound technicalities when you didn't even do the goddamn thing. So anyways, so distinction, overall, it's like a strong, did lots of things kind of real, you know? But I think that it could be presented a bit better to be clear on what you did specifically and show more of it. Because the thing is, you're blasting past this stuff so fast, and it's because of this intro. It's because you have a ton of stuff. So if you did separate sound and music, I think you'd have like a really solid music reel by having, 10 seconds for each one kind of thing, show 6 things. That'd be sick. Even like one less, like, 5 things, 12 seconds each. Be lovely. And as far as visuals, titles are sick. The imagery is great. Like, it's all really good. It's really strong. So, yeah. But in general, if you are bound and determined to keep this video in the current format it is, then with this format, I would take out like a game or two, yeah, because it does feel rushed. That was my very first impression. Was like I can't process what's happening right now. There's so much going on. Keep in mind that you know this material, but an ignorant first-time listener will be going in completely blind, and they need to have time to get a foothold and come to a rest, like being okay. This is now established. I understand what this game is now, and I can sit here and judge it for a second. Or just listen, actively, and then move on. Because if you don't give them time to settle in, then you're just yanking them around, right? And it's not bad. We've had some pretty fast ones. I think Ali's is pretty fast actually. Who's in the chat right now? Ali Toker. I think it was your reel. It was like just breakneck speed, right? So it could be better, but overall, yeah, it's really strong, man. I like it. I like it a lot. And Matt, if you have any kind of distinction notes, feel free to throw it there and I'll read it off. Yeah, cool. We took a long time with that reel. That was like a 45-minute reel breakdown. So I'm gonna end it right there. Boom. Yeah, thanks a lot, Craig. I think what's been happening for the last few weeks is I've been not doing like game dev on stream, so I've been more comfortable with the idea of just doing real talk and like spending a bit more time. Maybe I'm taking your time without asking, Matt. I apologize. I know you're busy at Clay right now. So let's blast through the second one then, yes?